you could give just one piece of advice to your teenage self, so to like all of our viewers, what would it be?
My advice, and I honestly believe this, is that if you believe it, you can be it. I just really believe in the power of like internally, if you tell your mind and you tell yourself that you can do something, you're going to figure out how to do it. Because the thing that's stopping us every day is what's inside of our heads.
Hi, I'm Ella.
I'm Issa.
And I'm Bella, and welcome back to G-Team TV.
Today we'll meet 3 boss Girl Scouts, women on top of their game who are changing the world through entrepreneurship, the outdoors, and STEM.
But before we meet our boss Girl Scouts, it's time for the Q&A. So today's question is, what is your favorite movie? And if you want, you can give us a little more information about the favorite scenes. Those are always fun.
Mine would definitely have to be Toy Story 4 because I just love Forky. I think he's so funny, and also I think Slappy is kind of weird, and I kind of really like that too.
So I'm like very obsessed with movies, so this is a hard one, but my most rewatched movie is Little Women. I think I've watched it like 10 times since I was a little girl, and I don't want to like spoil it if people don't know the story yet, but I still cry like an absolute baby every single time in a very, very specific scene. So that movie is just perfect to me.
My favorite, despite how cheesy it is, has to be The Princess Bride. I love how inconceivable it is, how hilarious the whole movie remains to this day.
I love that movie so much. Yes, that's a good one.
Comment below on Instagram what your favorite movie is and comment any questions you want us to answer. We might put you in the future episode of G-Team TV.
Now it's time for another Catching Up with Girl Scouts. The amazing Girl Scout Troop 40079, their silver award involved planting a flower garden for a nonprofit agency called The Bridge, which helps people and families that experience forms of domestic abuse and dating violence. So to make the center feel more like a home for the people there, they planted a flower bed and made planting kits for the children. And they're just seriously amazing girls, and I'm so looking forward to see what they do for their Gold Awards.
That's awesome. Definitely share something cool you and your troop are doing. You may be featured in the next episode of G-Team TV.
And now for our first segment, Naomi is interviewing Brit Morin. Brit Morin is the founder and CEO of Brit & Co., as well as an investor, author, podcaster, and TV personality. Brit & Co. inspires women to discover their creative side, break barriers, start their own businesses, and achieve goals through podcasts, how-to content, products, and courses. Not only is Brit a lifetime member of Girl Scouts, but she is also a director of GSUSA's National Board.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to G-Team TV. I'm here today with special guest Brit Morin.
Hi guys, it's so great to be here.
So Brit is a lifetime member and also a board member, and she was a Girl Scout. So Brit, can you tell us a little bit more about your Girl Scout experiences?
Yes, so I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and I entered the Girl Scouts as a brownie. And I just remember, definitely remember the songs that we sang every week and camps. And it was the first time I was like, I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur because I just needed to get the next badge. And I also needed to sell all the cookies. And I ended up being the Girl Scout Cookie Seller of the Year for my region. And I should have known that I would end up on the board one day, and here I am.
There you go. And you just highlighted something that we talk about all the time, is like how entrepreneurs really, they get their start selling cookies as Girl Scouts. And so you actually run your own company. So can you tell us more about that?
It's funny, a lot of people have told me that Brit & Co. is sort of like the adult version of the Girl Scouts, because we aim to teach women all kinds of things, from how to code to how to paint, to how to decorate their homes, to how to start businesses, similar to like what you learn in Girl Scouts. And so maybe, but really at the end of the day, it's also like an alignment of the mission, right? Like I believe that women should stand for having courage, confidence, character, to be creative, and to really just believe in themselves more than anything. I think as little girls, you think you're on top of the world. I talk to 5-year-olds all the time. I have my own 5-year-old boy, and these girls are like, yeah, of course I can make you a fort, or like paint a masterpiece painting or like tell a story on the spot. But like when we grow up and we're 25 or 35, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm definitely not creative. Please don't ask me to do anything. I suck at life. And you're like, what? Where did that disconnect happen? And so the mission of Brit & Co is to rejuvenate that in women. And, at this point, we've now been around for almost a decade. We reach over 100 million women every month. And we have 130 courses online that you can take to learn all these new skills. We sell products. We used to host events before COVID with up to 15,000 people. And I'm the face of it. It's Brit & Co, and that's me. And so I do a lot of television work and write books and all those things too. So it's been pretty crazy, but this year has been especially meaningful to me because we launched a course called Self-Made that is a 10-week startup course. In 10 weeks, we will help you go from like idea or no idea to starting a business and making real revenue. And especially in a year of crazy unemployment or gap years at school where you just don't even know what to do, I think it's so impactful that any woman or girl can actually learn how to do the thing they love and actually make money from it.
I know entrepreneurship is so important, whether you're at the age of 6, 60, 160, that's something that you're going to take with you forever. And especially during COVID, there is no more like the stereotypical like classroom or anything. And so that's so important for girls to learn, especially at a young age. So I absolutely love that. And can you tell us more? You have a podcast, right? I've heard that you guys have a podcast. So what's that like, hosting a podcast?
I launched it in March. It's called Teach Me Something New with Brit Morin. And it really stemmed from my innate curiosity of learning new things. Like I literally am just curious about how to do everything. And so we interview people like Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis who taught acting skills, but really about how to use acting skills in your everyday life. So like, when you're talking to a stranger, like how do you what's your opening line and how do you add on to that conversation to make it more meaningful, and how to use gestures and voice control, and like I guess I'm using a lot of it right now. But let's see, I interviewed Rachel Ray about sort of cooking 101. And so we're actually in the midst of putting out season 2 right now, and we've got some amazing guests. It's been so fun learning how to connect with people using audio instead of visual storytelling, which was predominantly what Brit & Co has used for the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's great that you can really just branch out, and especially during COVID, that's so important, whether that's just like those organizational strategies or just how to have a conversation and how to like stay engaged on a Zoom call. It's a lot different, I think, now during COVID. So that's a great way that you have really expanded. And so with that, what kind of obstacles have you faced as a female entrepreneur,
Oh, where do I start? It's funny. So obviously Brit & Co is venture backed, and I have had to pitch the company to get funding probably hundreds of times at this point. I would say probably north of 200 maybe in the last 10 years. And most often the person on the other side of the table is an older white man who really isn't my target audience. And so I have to figure out how to really explain why this is a problem, like how I'm solving it, why women love it. And the typical answer is like, I'm going to go ask my wife or my daughter about that and see what they think. And that you have to be the person that goes first to make the change that we all want in the world. We want boards with 50% of women on them. We want companies with 50% of executives, venture capital firms with 50% female partners. And we're not there yet, but we're making progress.
That's so true. Entrepreneurship really is an area of growth right now. So if you could give just one piece of advice to your teenage self, so to like all of our viewers, what would it be?
My advice, and I honestly believe this, is that if you believe it, you can be it. And I say that because when I was 18, I made a bucket list of the things I wanted to accomplish in life, thinking I was like sort of joking because they were crazy. They were like, start a company that changes the world, meet Oprah, like do all these Like, I'm obsessed with Oprah, as is everybody, right?
Who isn't? We love Oprah.
And I was like, I'm going to put this on my list. I don't know if I'm really going to meet Oprah, but I was like, but maybe I will. Maybe I should meet Oprah. And I've accomplished almost all of the things I wrote on my 18-year-old bucket list. And now I have to make a new bucket list. And I think it's because I like dreamt big. I believed in myself that I could, and that even if I didn't know how, I would figure it out. And I just really believe in the power of, like, internally, if you tell your mind and you tell yourself that you can do something, you're going to figure out how to do it, because the thing that's stopping us every day is what's inside of our head. And I just love the quotes, like, you know, if you could do anything, if you could not be scared to do anything, imagine what you could do. And I just really fundamentally have seen that in my life and with so many other women, that if I were a teenager, I would make my bucket list today, pick 20 things that you want to accomplish by the time you're 35. And trust me, by the time you're 35, you'll be really surprised by what you've done.
Well, there you go. A little bit of homework for everyone who's watching this. Make your bucket list because Brit told you to. So
that's right.
There you go. And so for our last and final question for today is, what are your hopes and dreams, maybe for you or just for Brit & Co?
Oh, I hope to have clear air quality in California.
Fingers crossed.
I hope our country comes back together. I hope we fix climate change and COVID. And I just think right now we're in such a crazy time of the world where I can't imagine being a teenager right now. It must be really scary. Although, like, Gen Z is like the most resilient, amazing,
yes,
like foot stomping generation. I'm just like, yeah, go get them, Gen Z. Like, I can't wait for the election this year because I feel like Gen Z is going to show up. And like,
yes,
I think there's climate change is going to be a real thing that we're all going to get behind. Like, as your millennial sister, I want to tell you that, like, I'm with you. And like, I know this is scary, but I believe we are going to do some really crazy cool things together to make the future brighter. And so my dreams are really about the world. And like, I think that trickles down to Brit & Co, trickles down to my future, how I'm raising my kids. We've got to fix these global problems first, and then I think the rest will follow.
That's so true. All those words you said were just so true. And I really resonate with a lot of what you said in this interview. And I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of the G team, on behalf of Girl Scouts and everyone watching. We really just appreciate your time.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Naomi and Brit. I absolutely love how Brit brought her passion for women's confidence and power to her company and now to her work on Girl Scouts board. And I really appreciate how she fended for her company and why it was so necessary for women to have something like that.
I really loved the way she talked about how your confidence level changes as you get older. When I was little, I hated brushing my hair. So I would run around with this crazy mop of curls and pretend I was a jungle queen. I miss that self-confidence and the way I just was totally comfortable with my appearance. I really love the way that she helps us to know how important it is to stand up for who we are.
It's so amazing that Brit is standing up for us and reminding us to always keep that kind of confidence. Now, let's jump over to Erin, interviewing New Mexico State Park Director, Christy Tafoya.
Hi everyone, my name is Erin and I'm an Ambassador Girl Scout from Girl Scouts of Oregon in Southwest Washington, and I'm so glad you're here to join us. I have a special guest here today, Christy Tafoya, and she is the Director of New Mexico State Parks. She has been with the agency for over 22 years and was the very first female director in the system. She was an archaeologist by training, and Ms. Tafoya became the first state park archaeologist in 1998. She has developed a statewide outdoor classroom program, which has provided meaningful park experiences to all kinds of New Mexico children. Ms. Tafoya was a Girl Scout just like us, and she serves on the board of Girl Scouts of New Mexico Trails, which connects Girl Scouts to all of the amazing state and national parks we have here in the U.S. She also serves as the Southwest Region Representative on the Executive Board of the National Association of Park Directors. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. I think you have one of the coolest jobs, and I cannot wait to hear all about it.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so honored to be part of this.
So I understand that you were a Girl Scout and you were a girl and you were very active as a girl and you are still very active now. So can you tell us about your time in Girl Scouts?
I started as a brownie, and one of the most important days of my life was when I flew up from being a brownie to being a Girl Scout, and I was pinned as a Girl Scout. And that was one of the biggest thrills of my childhood, I have to tell you. It was so exciting. I grew up in Maryland, and we had lots of beautiful outdoor places in Maryland, but my family didn't camp. So when I was connected up with the Girl Scouts, I had some really amazing troop leaders, and they would take us outside and we would go camping and we would go hiking. I learned how to pitch a tent. I learned how to work with other girls and made some really incredible friendships through Girl Scouts. So that was really important because it had provided this window into the outdoors in a way that I may never have experienced if it hadn't been for the Girl Scouts. The other thing that it really helped me with when I was a kid was building confidence. And so I really feel that that kind of helped guide me into the career that I undertook.
What led you to be appointed as the director of all of New Mexico's state parks? How did you go from archaeologist to head director? What was that journey like?
It's funny. I love state parks so much. And when I actually started as a seasonal, and I got my master's degree at one of our state parks here in New Mexico. And I just found that in every step of the way, I learned so many different things, all the different career steps that I took in the ladder. I just decided, well, I love this so much, and I want to take care of our state parks. I want to take care of the people that work for state parks, and I want to take care of our visitors. And so I applied for it and interviewed and was selected. and I'm very glad that I did. I'm glad that I had some great mentors, let me just tell you. And I think Girl Scouts cultivating leadership and confidence and character, all of those things played into me feeling that I had the ability to take this role on. And I have to say, coming from a woman's perspective in a field that for a long time was dominated by kind of the male perspective, I think having a woman's perspective really helps a lot because there's so many things as a leader, as a listener, as a communicator that I think I bring to the table from a woman's perspective that can really help with the planning components that go into this job. And I do think that difference in communication of, and listening, truly listening, has been incredibly helpful and meaningful, and especially in this time that we're, managing through right now with the pandemic.
And so how about you just tell us a little bit more about the Girl Scouts Love State Parks Initiative? I know that I've been a part of it and I love it. So why don't you tell our viewers about it?
So as was said a little bit earlier, I am on the National Association of State Park Directors Board. And a number of directors on this board were Girl Scouts. Pretty much nearly all of them were Girl Scouts. And that really formed their lives too. When I found that out, I was like, wow, we need to connect at the national level. So myself and the CEO of NASPD, his name's Lewis, he's great. He and I reached out to GSUSA to see if there would be some way on a national level that we could connect up. And there was a lot of interest at the national level of making this happen all across the country. So this is the second year of Girl Scouts Love State Parks. The first year, I think we had 48 states that participated, which is incredible.
Yeah.
That is amazing that we had that many. I know, right? So we had 48 states that participated, and we had all of these great events all across the country, in-person events, and we had great participation. Well, this year, you know, we were all ready to have more in-person events and the pandemic. But here's the cool thing that has happened. We were able to even expand more. So we had all these virtual events that happened just this past weekend. And I know here in New Mexico, we had over 100 girls participate. And some of them went out to our parks with their families. We're only open to day use here in New Mexico, but I know that there were 10 parks that participated this year. We have 34 parks, 10 participated this year, where we only had 4 that participated last year. So we've grown the program.
You've grown the program. You've met a need. You found a need and a want in your community and just nationally, and you have given it to the Scouts. You've given it to the people.
I'm just so proud of our girls, and that and I know that they're going to be our stewards of our parks going forward. They're the ones that are going to be, you know, they're the ones who are going to be the directors of state parks. You know, they're the ones who are going to be the president, you know, of the United States. That's what we're cultivating. It's going to happen. I really do feel that.
Yeah, you're definitely inspiring the next generation to appreciate the outdoors and protect the outdoors, and just building those skills that proof with you that last your whole life, this joy and passion. And from the bottom of my heart, I have enjoyed this so much. And I just want to say thank you for all your efforts to protect the beauty that we have around us. And thank you for inspiring girls of all ages to really get outside and pursue their dreams.
It's been very nice talking to you too. Best of luck to you. And thank you for what you're doing. I love this idea of, you know, Girl Scouts TV, and I'm just really honored to be a part of it.
That was so amazing. Thank you, Christy.
It's so cool how she's an archaeologist, and I love that she's trying to keep the outdoors alive for new Girl Scout troops.
I completely agree. For our final segment today, Gold Award Corner, GT member Cadence will be interviewing Megan Lowe, a 2019 National Gold Award Girl Scout. In 2015, Megan founded the nonprofit organization Gear Up for Youth, which brings interactive robots and STEM programs to underserved communities internationally with the aim to close the gender gap in the tech industry. Megan is also now a student at Stanford University, which is also just so impressive. And I heard her speech last year when she was honored as a National Gold Award Girl Scout. Her project is one of the most exciting and inspiring ones that I've ever heard about. I'm very excited for you guys to hear about it too. So welcome, Cadence and Megan.
Hi, Megan. My name is Cadence. It's so nice to finally meet you.
Hi, it's great to meet you as well.
So I know that you started as your Gold Award Gear Up for Youth, which is really cool because I love robotics. So my first question is for you. What was your greatest challenge you faced starting your own business as your Gold Award?
Yeah, of course. So I encountered a lot of different challenges. I think one of the most prominent challenges that I had coming into this was when I was originally starting. And so I had just done an all-female robotics program or an all-female technology program at my local library, and I got a lot of positive feedback from it. When I was first bringing it to the Boys and Girls Clubs, where most of the under-resourced girls and boys go after school, I was super excited to bring all of my technology, all of my resources, all of my colorful cartoons over there. But when I started teaching my class, I realized that a lot of the kids didn't really have interest in coding. They didn't want to drag and drop blocks of code, and more or less they wanted to go outside and play. And since I spent so much time creating that curriculum, it it was a little bit disappointing to me, but I didn't see this as something that I couldn't overcome, or it wasn't an insurmountable obstacle. Instead, I saw this as an opportunity to grow. And so I thought back to the days when I got interested in technology, what got me interested in STEM, in robotics. And I thought back to the times when I was playing with my Lego robots and I built all of these super cool things, and I invented all of these amazing stories to go with all of these backgrounds. I thought, why don't I use colorful Lego robots in order to engage these girls' attention? And it actually worked. So the robots, since they were building them, it felt like they were kind of nurturing it, and they actually were able to build a bond and a connection with these robots, and they ended up wanting to learn how to code. They wanted to learn how to make it move. That was so exciting to me, to be able to see them be excited about the topic that I was interested in. And besides that, I also tried to integrate like these outside games in order to engage their attention for a little bit longer. So we would use balloons, we would use little outdoor mazes to be able to communicate to them in a different way, like some more computer science concepts while they were having fun. Yeah.
That's really cool, and I can totally relate to your situation with challenges. So my next question for you is, what inspired you to start Gear Up for Youth? What was that spark that really made you say, this is what I want to do for my Gold Award?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in STEM ever since I was a little kid. My parents would take me to these like science fairs. I was always so captivated by everything that was going on. I was like, why is that happening? Why is this happening? And so I was constantly begging my parents to go to these really cool technology camps. In 5th grade, they finally let me go, and I was so excited. I was jumping up and down. But as soon as I stepped into the room on my first day of class, I realized that I was in a room full of 2 girls and 20 other boys. And as a 5th grader, I felt nervous, intimidated even. And as I grew older, I realized that in the technology industry, only 25% of the workforce is female, and only 15% make up the minorities and underprivileged. And so I realized that I wanted to do something, anything to be able to make a change.
That's so amazing that that's what started your drive for Gear Up for Youth. So my next question for you is, in the time that you've had your own business, what is your most memorable moment that really stuck with you?
One of my favorite memories that stands out to me the most is this little girl that was named Melissa. So Melissa was one of the girls at one of our Boys and Girls Clubs. And when we were first introducing the technology robotics program, she was one of the girls that had turned away, put her head on the desk, and kind of didn't want to be there. And so I pulled her aside, and after the class, and I asked, what's wrong? Why don't you want to do robotics or programming? And she told me that her dad said that robotics is for boys and that girls don't learn programming. But as the classes progressed and as we got to know each other a little bit more, I saw her coming out of her shell. I saw her slowly building her Lego robot. And by the end of the classes, she was one of the most excited girls at the course. And she would jump up and down, and she would come up to me and tug on my shirt and be like, Megan, look at what I made. And it was just so incredible to be able to see like the difference that I was able to make in someone else's life.
That's really amazing. And I cannot wait till I'm able to make such an impact on someone else like you have so many times. So one of my other questions is, what words of advice would you have for girls who will be watching this?
So to all of our listeners out there, if you have a passion, don't be afraid to follow your dreams and to take action. It may be daunting to take the first step, to talk to your first client, recruit your first partners, and there will most definitely be pitfalls along the way. but you need to remember to get up after you fall. The most important elements in driving change is having motivation and perseverance. But above all, to all of the listeners, no matter what age you are, no matter where you are from, you can make the world a better place.
That is the life speech that I think I should live by every day. Like, you're such an inspiring person. It's such an honor to be able to interview you, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come and talk to me today.
Oh my gosh, it was my honor to be able to be on this show and to be able to spread my message to even more girls out there. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Megan is so inspiring. I can't believe she started a nonprofit while she was still in high school. I know she also spoke at the United Nations.
And closing the gender gap is so important. It's really shocking to hear that in 2020, only 25% of STEM jobs are filled with women. And getting girls interested and involved with STEM when they're young is such a smart way to tackle the root of that issue and just get more women involved in the field.
So, now we have met a boss in business, a boss in the outdoors, and a boss in STEM. I loved having the chance to hear from so many amazing women. If I had to pick, I think my favorite part would be hearing from Brit Morin, our board member.
My favorite part was hearing from Megan Lowe and how she inspires girls to get involved with STEM.
I also think it was really amazing to hear from Christy. Archaeology is probably one of the coolest jobs in the world, and I love hearing from somebody who was so empowered by Girl Scouts. It's also really funny that most of her female coworkers were Girl Scout alum, but I mean, it makes sense.
If you're feeling inspired by these boss Girl Scouts, be sure to join us on October 12th for Girl Scouts Change the World. You'll meet the new 2020 National Gold Award Girl Scouts and learn how to go for your bronze, silver, and gold awards. We'll put the link in the description below. Be sure to check it out.
Our positive affirmation today is from an amazing boss woman, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She said, "Women belong in all places where decisions are being made. It shouldn't be that women are the exception." RBG paved the way for so many of our rights, and she is an incredible example of setting your mind to a goal and achieving it no matter what kind of obstacles stand in your way.
Thank you so much to all of our guests this week, Brit Morin, Christy Tafoya, and Megan Lowe, our reporters and segment leads, and of course, all of you that are watching. If you like the show, please watch next week. You can find a new episode on Girl Scouts IGTV every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, or you can catch up on the previous episodes on Girl Scouts YouTube channel. You won't want to miss next week's episode, Changemakers. We are interviewing Girl Scouts of the USA's new CEO, Judith Batty.
You can also connect live with girls from around the country to talk about our show. Look for a link in the Council Hangout on our Instagram stories or in the YouTube description.
We'll see you next week on G Team TV. Peace out, Girl Scouts!